Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Week 14 Sunday NFL picks that we've got for you here. I'm looking at 7-player prop bets that I've got in for you guys for the NFL. Also want to run through how we've done in the NFL the last week and the NBA as we're crushing the NBA right now. So definitely want to let you guys know about that. If that all sounds good to you, go ahead and give the video a like. Let's jump right into it. Wasn't able to actually get any plays up for that Thursday night game. If you saw what happened on Thursday night, hopefully you were watching that video and you got in some Jordan Love rushing. We also got some receiving for Christian Watson in there. So we had a couple pretty nice plays, including Josh Jacobs, not Brandon Jacobs, Josh Jacobs with a nice run. But the plays that I did put in for week 13, just wanted to show you those because I haven't had a chance to get that out to you. 5-5 plus 0.1U. So in the VIP Discord, currently plus 3.71 units in the NFL. Still above 500, trying to keep getting those units before we get into the postseason, where I've also done super well in the past, I will say. But we're going to keep it rolling here. Also wanted to make sure you knew that the NBA is getting slammed right now. 6.6 units on Friday, also up 28.2 on the season now through just 6 weeks. The goal was to get to 60 units on the season, more than or almost halfway there. So feeling like we can get more than that. And now the goal is 100 units in the NBA. So don't miss any of those plays coming out every single day. If you do want to jump in the Discord of the VIP access, that is currently 50% off for the first 2 months for the next 10 users. And I believe we already had 2 since I put this out. So we'll say 8 users right now if you use code VIPDISC. And I know that wasn't working for some of you. Hashed it out with a couple folks and got it working. So it is up and running for you guys if you want to get that. More than just the picks, also got the education in there as well for you, helping you trim some bad habits and get some good ones in your sports betting. So I've got some one-on-one access to me for some of these weekly meetings that I have with the VIP members. If any of that sounds good to you guys, go ahead and jump in there. The link is in the description of the video. But let's get to these 7 plays I've got for the NFL on Sunday. Hey, did you guys know that Will Levis has been a top 10 quarterback in the NFL for the last 4 weeks? I'm not joking either. I know that's going to come across as sarcastic, as like, oh, Will Levis. No, Will Levis has been a top 10 quarterback, let's say, in the last 4 weeks. If you look at the yardage, 261 yards per game, 8.5 yards per attempt, which is second best in the league in the last 4 weeks. And he's 6th in his passer rating. Can't make this stuff up. Hasn't played that bad at defenses. There's been some pass funnels in there like Minnesota, but he's still played so well against some pretty good Ds. And this is not a good pass defense in the Jacksonville Jaguars, and an important divisional game, at least for the Titans, not for the Jags. I'll say that. 8.5 yards per attempt is what this team is allowing, which is what Will Levis has been. And in the last 4 weeks, I believe that's good for 8th best in the NFL. So still, like I said, a top 10 quarterback going up against at least bottom 3, if not the worst pass defense in the league. We're talking about bottom 3 in defensive DVOA for the pass EPA on defense, success rate versus the pass, and passing yards that they've allowed on the season. So yes, I'm going to go ahead and safely call them bottom 3, if not the worst. And I think Will Levis will continue to have some. I think this opened at like 207. I would take this up to 225 on the passing yards for Will Levis, especially with the emergence of, well, I guess the emergence of Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, who we didn't realize was this good, but also the re-emergence of Calvin Ridley, who's now up to about 15 yards per catch in the last 4 weeks as well. So the resurgence for him, and I would say for Will Levis, who had some good looks last year, then fell off a cliff, and I believe he's back. So we like him on the pass yards today. Guess who else we like on the pass yards? Famous Jameis. The horses are preparing for battle, y'all. They were last week as well, and they are getting ready. The Lord wasn't with him last week. I think the Lord is going to be with famous Jameis this Sunday. Even if he's not, he's averaging 75 yards more per game than what his current prop line is at in this one, right? He's got 336 yards in the 5 starts that he's averaging, 44 attempts that he's averaging, including just 27 in the Snow Bowl against Pittsburgh, 27 completions per game as well. And he always got the opportunity to get some pick sixes. This is also a perfect situation for anybody who does not want to run and wants to pass against the Steelers, because you do not run well against the Steelers. They're now seeing the 3rd highest pass play percentage when they play at home against them. So teams know they can't run against them. They probably try to and then can't. So they resort to the pass. And I think that's what we're going to see here for the Browns, because I just don't think Nick Chubb is going to be a 2024 player. I've been saying this. He's going to be ready for 2025. I'm going to draft him in fantasy because I'll probably get him in the 3rd-ish round and feel great about it. And then, moving forward, he'll be great. Just not this season. It's just not there yet for him. And the run blocking for the Browns is terrible as well. They are in the bottom 10 in terms of adjusted yards before contact. So they're not going to be able to run against a team you already can't really run on. So I do think they're going to resort to the pass. And whether Jameis is throwing 4 picks or no picks, I think he's going to be throwing a lot. So I'm very excited to be able to take him on the pass yards. Got an opportunity for a ladder to 300 plus for him as well. Might be getting Cedric Tillman back in addition to all this. So full host of weapons. Jerry Jeudy is the man right now. So I'm feeling really good about Jameis in this one. The horses, we're coming to battle, baby. This kills me because I freaking love Chuba Hubbard, and I don't know much about Jonathan Brooks, but I just don't understand why you would draft that player when you already have a really good young running back, and then you sign him to a 5-year deal. That makes no sense to me. But I'm going to go under on Chuba because that's the right play here. And there's no emotions in betting. There's only numbers. See a number, play a number. And the number's at about 75 for him. I would go under anywhere as low as 70 yards rushing and receiving combined for Chuba, especially because he's just not a part of the pass game. And this Philly run D isn't going to let anybody run on them at this point. So they're done. Like I said, right here, just they're not playing anymore. In the last 7 weeks, you have not been able to get yards on the ground against the Eagles. Plus, they've been winning, so you haven't had the chance to run because they have a positive game script, and you, as the defender, as the opponent against the Eagles, have a negative game script. So I do think we're going to see a lot of Bryce Young in this game, and when it comes to the receiving out of the backfield, that's going to be Jonathan Brooks. That's how he got incorporated into the offense when he came back from injury, was that they said, we're going to be using him on third downs, and he's going to start seeing the majority of the routes run and the snap opportunities when they're in a pass down or distance, right? So Chuba's not even going to be out there probably as much. We saw Jonathan Brooks continue to up his opportunity share and his snap rate in the last couple weeks, up to about 27%. And on the pass plays, also running more routes than Chuba now. He's had 50 total yards per game in the last 2 games with Brooks back, right? Not even close to the 70 or 75 that he would need. And as I mentioned, just phased out of the pass game. I believe it was last week, he only ran 2 routes, and he's had 1 target. He had 5 targets the week before, so everything is continuing to drop down for Chuba in his involvement and his usage. I'm not necessarily ready to go over on anything with Jonathan Brooks other than perhaps the receiving for him, but I think Chuba's a straight fade on both rushing and receiving combined. A man moving in the opposite direction of Chuba is Isiah Pacheco, who is now back, and I think he's going to start to really overtake that first RB1 sort of role for this Chefs team. So 55 plus yards or more, I think, is a good look for Pacheco in this one. He's now had extra rest and prep, right? And he could have come back in week 12 is what I'm really looking at here. Is like, he was healthy enough. They just kept him out for 1 more week because they were like, let's just have Kareem Hunt run into these opponents that we're beating, including the Raiders, right? But he does need to get back into full 100% game mode for the playoffs. Like, this team can't afford to have 1.5 running backs going into the playoffs, especially because they don't really have any wide receivers that they trust at this point. If you look at what he's done so far, first game back, 44 yards, 7 carries. So 6.3 yards per attempt, it looks like. And this is a Chargers defense that's very good, but the Chiefs had plenty of success running on them last game as well, where Kareem Hunt had 85 yards, and he only played 48% of the snap rate in that game when he came back. So, I think if Pacheco's seeing anywhere close to 50 to 60% of the rush attempts in this game, then he should be good for about 4 to 4.5 yards per carry. They've got him listed at about 12.5 attempts right now. So that gets us right to about 50 yards. If he gets to 13 carries, he's at about 50, 55 yards or so that we need. I think this is what we're going to see. And we could see this be a really big game for Pacheco, especially if he's able to get into the end zone where the Chargers are very vulnerable as well inside the red zone against the run. And I will say, as good as the Chargers defense is against the run, they give up the 7th most rushes for a first down, right? They're seeing a lot of rushes against them on third down. And that is something that the Chiefs, we know, are going to want to do, is keep the ball on the ground. Done it all season. I think they're going to have success doing it here. About time we started talking about Jordan Addison, by the way, because quietly being very, very successful over the last 3 weeks or so. And this is going to be a game against the Falcons where bad defense. I don't trust either rush or pass defense for this Falcons D, but I do trust AJ Terrell, stud corner, top 3 in the NFL, who's going to be shadowing J-Jet everywhere. And honestly, like, the last time we kind of thought about this with J-Jet and fading him, we didn't do it. He only had 1 big catch that was about 93 yards in a similar situation. I'm ready to go back to him because Jordan Addison is going to be getting a very easy matchup, whether it's Mike Hughes, who should be back for this game and is ranked 106th amongst cornerbacks in man coverage, which is what the Falcons will probably be playing a lot of against this Vikings squad. And if you look at Jordan Addison in the last 3, he's got the 5th most pass yards. Or I'm sorry, if you look at first we'll do the Falcons in the last 3. They're giving up the 5th most passing yards, and they're seeing 73% of the yards accumulated against them via the pass. So their rush defense has been a lot better. The pass defense, not so much. And if you look at Jordan Addison, in the last 3, he's up to 8 targets per game, 92 yards per game, running 98% of the routes. So this is full on a wide receiver 2 at this point, and with a much easier matchup than the wide receiver 1 and a much lower receiving yard prop, I like Jordan Addison to be targeted a lot by Sam Darnold in this one and get the 50+ receiving yards he needs. I'm pretty annoyed that the Malik Nabers questionable tag has risen for us, because before that came late yesterday after practice, this was one of my favorite plays. It's still a good look, but I don't know how hobbled he's going to be. So we got to see what level of health he's actually able to bring this week. Either way, this is a bounce back spot with a perfect moment in time that is giving us value. And I'll tell you why. The last 3 games were beyond a disaster. So we're fading recent results, number 1, first and foremost. But it's not just recent results. It's recent quarterbacks for the Giants. So you look at the last 3 weeks, we had injured Daniel Jones, then Tommy Cutlet DeVito, and then Drew Lock being told he's starting before the game starts, like an hour before kickoff last week or whatever is when we actually got the Drew Lock news. Maybe he knew for a day, but they didn't get anything close to a full week of practice with Drew Lock as the starting quarterback. Now they do. Now they have more than a full week. They've had 10 days since the Thursday night football game they lost to the Cowboys, where Drew Lock threw for like 60 yards because he couldn't. He didn't know the offense as well. Hadn't had any time with his receivers. And that was why I didn't take him over or Malik Nabers over any of that stuff. But now I'm ready to. This is the same dude, Malik Nabers, that we've all seemed to have forgotten about because his quarterback has been some form of trash, like at quarterback. Daniel Jones, probably a great person. Tommy Cutlets, I'm not so sure about. But either way, bad quarterbacks. Drew Lock's not that bad of a quarterback. He's not great, but he's not that bad of a quarterback. He can make the throws that he needs to make against a doo-doo Saints defense. But Malik Nabers is going to be the guy he's going for. Number 1 in target percentage and drop rate this season, dropping the least amount of passes on his attempts, and 4th in unrealized air yards because Daniel Jones can't throw a deep ball, and certainly neither can Tommy Cutlets. But Drew Lock can. He can throw to the outside. He can throw to the corners and into the sidelines, and should be fine finding one of the best receivers in the NFL as a rookie. The Saints as well, if you wanted the long reception for Malik, I think that's a good look. It should be at about 22, 23 yards for him. I would take that up to about 25 over. The Saints are allowing the most passing yards, 40+ pass plays is what I should be saying there, and the 4th most 20+ yard pass plays. So the deep ball, the explosive rate against them, very high for the Saints. That's what this man does, whether it's through the yak, yards after catch, or if he's running down the field with those unrealized air yards. I expect some of them to get realized with better throws coming from Drew Lock. Also got a tight end here, Evan Engram, going up against the Titans. Tough matchup overall, but a little bit easier for the tight end position. And I kind of like the fact that we have Mac Jones in there instead of Trevor Lawrence, not because he's a better quarterback, strictly just because he's reliant on his tight ends more than Trevor Lawrence. At least this season, because when Trevor Lawrence has been in there, he has not been using his tight ends nearly as much, which was something he did last year, a ton, as we know. But Mac Jones, I can trust to rely on his tight ends, in part because he doesn't have the skill set to do much else. And this team's not going to be able to run on Tennessee. And they haven't been able to run on anybody. Certainly not going to be able to run on one of the best run defenses in the league. But with Mac in there in the last 3 games that he's played with him this season, Evan Engram has 18 catches and 24 targets, right, in that time frame. So about 6 catches per game on 8 targets per game. I like that in this one as well. 5.5 receptions gets you close to plus money. I think you're safe to take this at 6+ as long as you get close. -110 is where I would limit the odds return before I would be like, I don't know if I can take this at 6.5 or 5.5 receptions. But they're not going to be able to run the ball. So most of their plays are going to have to be passing plays, and they're probably going to be shorter passing plays with the way that Tennessee has limited the passing game in general. Very good defense overall, but this is the man that is going to be targeted the most. I don't even like to Mac Jones on the completions or the yards or anything. I just like Evan Engram to get targeted 8 to 10 times and to pull in 6 of those at least to get us to the 6+ receptions for plus money. All right, don't forget, if you do want to jump into the VIP and not miss out on any of this money that we're making, use code VIPDISC. VIP disc, and that'll get you 50% off your first 2 months in there. Also get you access to some one-on-one betting consultation if you want any help to get better at some of the bad habits that you guys are throwing out there. We can get that done for you. So looking forward to seeing you guys here on the live show Monday, 5:30 p.m. We're gonna be finding some Monday Night Football bets in addition to the NBA as we always do. So until I see y'all then, happy betting.